Hi, guys. All right, so today's lecture is going to be on Greek philosophy. So, philosophy is what's called the search for wisdom. It's an idea that ancient Greeks came up with that wisdom is different than knowledge. Wisdom was all about understanding the world. It's different from facts and knowledge. They use facts to understand how to question the world. And that Greek philosophy is the first time we ever see this. We're going to talk about Plato's allegory of the cave later, but for right now, it's going to be all about the three great philosophers in ancient Greece: Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. They were the three great thinkers who tried to understand the world around them and tried to understand larger questions like why are human beings here and how should you live your life. So Socrates is called the father of philosophy. He was born in Athens in 469 BCE. And according to the stories, he was originally a stone cutter. And one day he was at work and he cut a stone. That's a pretty important job in ancient Athens since everything was built out of stone. One day he was at work cutting stones and a stone fell on his foot and crushed his foot. And he took this as a sign from the gods. He was very devout in his younger days. And he took this as a sign for the gods that maybe he wasn't doing the job that the gods wanted him to do. So he went to a place called Delphi, another city-state. Not too far from Athens. And at Delphi, there was a temple to Apollo. And there was a priestess there known as the Oracle. She was the priestess. And apparently, according to tradition, that if you went to the temple of Apollo and asked her a question, she would ask Apollo the answer, and she'd be able to tell you. Well, Socrates went up to the temple of Apollo, according to the story, and the oracle looked at him and said, "Why are you here?" And he said, "What do you mean? I came to ask you a question." And she goes, "No, no, 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 no. You're the wisest man in Athens. Why are you here?" And he was stunned because Socrates was not an educated man. He didn't know anything. But the oracle can't be wrong. She's a messenger of the gods. Well, he spent the next 50 years of his life walking around Athens, asking questions, and trying to find wise people. He never did. He found a lot of people who knew things, but never people who were wise. That was the issue. Socrates believed in questioning everything. So Socrates, question everything. The answers themselves don't matter. Unfortunately, if you question everything, many people get in trouble, including Socrates. Socrates questioned people all throughout Athens, and he made some people angry. He was sentenced to death by the Athenians for corrupting the youth in 399 BC. Believed in questioning everything. regardless of what the answer was. He believed that just the ability to question was what was important. So he would ask all kinds of questions like, what is justice? What is piety? How should we behave? He asked all kinds of questions, and he got a following of all different types of students. So one of the big things with Socrates is that he believed wisdom was knowing that you knew nothing. And therefore, had to constantly seek knowledge. Socrates said that most people never realize that they know nothing. They simply walk around as experts, and they stop learning. So according to Socrates, the real goal in life is to understand that you know nothing. And therefore, search for knowledge. So Socrates gathered followers from around Athens and other places in Greece, and he was like a teacher, but he was with a teacher without a formal school. People used to just follow him and listen to him and try to learn from him. And Plato was Socrates' greatest student. Plato was a poet and a writer before he met Socrates. And he wrote down, as he was listening to Socrates, he tried to write down the life story and the wisdom of Socrates. He wrote what's called a series of dialogues. They're like reading conversations between Socrates and the citizens of Athens. Each dialogue is a separate story. They're like reading plays where the characters in a play would speak to each other, and that's what Plato essentially would write. And he got from his master to the idea of questioning everything, which he got from Socrates. But Plato took it a step further. Plato believed that if you question everything and ask the right questions, you'd eventually come up with the right answers. He called these answers true forms. The true forms would be the best answer to any question. So, for example, if Plato asked, what is the best form of government? He would say, well, the best form of government is the perfect form, which he believed was a republic. The Republic by Plato is a book that he wrote about the true form of government. He believed that in a democracy like Athens, stupid people could rule. He said, no, that's insane. They're not smart enough, they're not wise enough, to handle what, ruling over other people is. So he said, what you need is a republic where the people don't vote on the laws. Instead, the people vote for representatives. The representatives would vote on the laws. That's the definition of a republic. Where the people vote for representatives, representatives vote on the laws. In theory, at least in Plato's mind, the best form of a representative would be a philosopher king. Therefore, philosopher kings should rule the republic. How does a person become a philosopher? You need to develop wisdom. Wisdom is understanding that you don't know everything. He got that from Socrates. Understanding that the world around you is full of ignorant people. And understanding that you need to question everything. Plato believed that was the first step to developing wisdom, and only those people who had become philosophers should actually run the republic. So Plato believed in the republic run by philosopher kings like Socrates or Plato, the philosophers would then rule over the ignorant. One of his most famous sayings, Plato was supposed to have said that one of the penalties for refusing to participate in politics is that you end up being governed by your inferiors. Who are the inferiors? Well, according to Plato, They are the people who were ignorant. Aristotle was slightly different. Aristotle was one of Plato's students long after Socrates was gone. Aristotle was a mathematician, a philosopher, and a scientist. He is probably best known for his ideas on science. He developed the idea behind logical reasoning. He said true forms can only be true if they're defended by logic. The answers to any questions then can be different, and yet both answers can be right depending on the perspective. Here's the story with Aristotle. If you look at Aristotle, Aristotle said right answers or true forms to questions are only right if they can be defended by logic and reason. So the issue with Aristotle the issue for him is that what if two answers can be defended logically? What if the only true answer is one for you and no one else?
I'm gonna have to do something about that, Sadie, when I grow older.